Does a village in North Wales have the saddest place name in the whole of the British Isles? Back in the deep and distant mists of North Wales history, in the early 13th century to be exact, lived a prince. His name was Llywelyn the Great. He married the daughter of King John, perhaps best remembered now as the villainous king from the Robin Hood legends. He later became the King of Wales, and his rule dominated the country for around 45 years, which is how he came to be called Great. As you can imagine, Llywelyn was a wealthy and powerful man with a number of palaces. One of these was located in what is now the Snowdonia National Park. One day, whilst he was staying at this palace, Llywelyn decided to go out hunting, leaving his devoted dog, Gelert, behind to guard his most precious possession, his son and heir. When the hunt had finished, Llywelyn returned to the palace to be faced with a truly gruesome scene. Gelert's coat was stained crimson, his jaws were dripping with blood. Llywelyn, fearing for his son's safety, began to panic. Had Gelert done the unthinkable? Llywelyn hurried over to the child's cot, only to find it overturned, the blankets that were inside saturated red, the walls around it spattered with blood. Seeing no sign of the baby, Llywelyn now assumed the worst. Thinking Gelert must have viciously mauled the innocent child to death, and overcome with anger and grief, Llywelyn drew his sword and plunged it deep into the dog's side. But then, Gelert's confused, dying yelps were answered by a noise, a baby's cry. Llywelyn lifted the upturned cradle to find his son, alive and unharmed, lying next to the body of an enormous wolf. It turned out that Gelert had been faithful to the last, killing the wolf to protect the child. Llywelyn, devastated by his hasty actions, carried the body of his canine companion outside the castle walls, giving him a public burial to ensure his name and brave deeds were always remembered. After the events of that day, it was said that Llywelyn never smiled again. The place in Snowdonia where this tragedy played out all those centuries ago is now a village called Beddgelert, which is Welsh for Gelert's grave. If you were to visit Beddgelert today, you'd find a sycamore tree spreading over a stone circle, and in the middle, a large headstone marking Gelert's final resting place. A loyal animal slain due to man's rashness. It's an achingly sad fable. But it's tricky to work out just how much truth there actually is in this famous North Wales legend. The roots of the village's name probably lie with the martyred early Christian missionary, Gelert, who settled there in the 8th century. The earliest record of the name Beddgelert appears on a document dated 1258. However, it's thought that the grave of this unfortunate dog was actually built much later than the time in which the story takes place. That it was built, in fact, by 18th century landlord David Pritchard of the village's Goat Hotel, who moved to live there in 1793. Pritchard had heard the Welsh folk story of Gelert, in which a faithful dog dies from exhaustion after a long hunt, his body buried in Beddgelert. Pritchard apparently combined the two dog stories and built the grave as a tourist attraction to boost visitor numbers to the village and, as a result, his takings. He introduced Llywelyn into the story due to his fame as a key figure in Welsh history and because of Llywelyn's connections to the nearby abbey. However, the story of the faithful pet unjustly slaughtered by its master can actually be found in the history of several world cultures. It's been around since ancient times, featuring in the folklore of many different countries in slightly different versions. An old Malaysian version of the story tells of a hunter who leaves his tamed bear in charge of guarding his daughter. He returns home to find his daughter missing and the bear covered in blood. The hunter hastily slaughters the bear before discovering the body of a tiger the bear has killed in order to protect his child. The hunter's daughter then emerges from the jungle unharmed. Another version of the story originates from the Ligurian Alps of Italy. In this account, a shepherd kills his dog after finding it smeared with blood, assuming it has killed his sheep. He then realises that the blood actually belongs to a dead wolf lying at the edge of the pen. In Indian legend, the dog is replaced by a mongoose and the wolf by a black snake. In Egyptian folklore, a cook almost slays her dog for smashing a bowl of herbs, only to discover a poisonous snake coiled up inside. The tale of Beddgelert is now one of the best known and most loved folk stories in Wales. Thousands of people visit the village to see Gelert's grave every year, testament to how the injustices of our animal friends stick in our imaginations. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Historics. There'll be more coming soon, but in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe and share. See you next time!